Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel, and today, are you feeling that excitement? Because I am feeling it. Happy National Liberation Day, by the way, to my Kuwaiti viewers. I hope that you're having a very fantastic Saturday morning.
Saturday evening or a Saturday afternoon. I don't know when will this video will upload.
But I am wishing you all of the best, most especially for this holiday. And for this video, this is going to be the part 2 of my HALA FEB special, wherein I am going to introduce to you an author named Mohammed Ghazi. He has one of the proudest talent in Kuwait, and I could not wait to share to you what book we are going to talk about today. And without further ado, if you're not yet subscribed, subscribe now, and let's get started. What's that? Hello, beautiful people! Rise and shine in a world that is gleeful. Yes, welcome back to...
Okay, guys, take it from the top. Louder!
A 1, 2.
Sachi Cybery YouTube channel. Shh. What's YouTube? Oh my gosh, this bracelet. So today, our main highlight is going to talk about death and other beautiful things. And while reading the title of this book, it can be quite of an intimidating read, like death and other beautiful things. So it's like from a wilted flower and then suddenly it blossomed, something like that. Let's take that as a metaphor for this video. And today, you know what, I have something to share to you guys. I went through a glow up wherein before I'm just making videos about the books that I'm reading, lying in bed while reading those books, making vlogs about it. But now I actually met a real author. You know, a booktuber and an author's mind is two different things, and I am just internally screaming while I met Mohammed Ghazi, and this is like one of the proudest moments that I could share to you guys. And of course, without you guys, or without YouTube, I wouldn't be here right now. So yes, and we're going to review his book. Actually, this is like the third book or the fourth book, so he's really an active author. And let's see if I did enjoy Death and Other Beautiful Things. Okay, so with Death and Other Beautiful Things, I would flash here all of the warnings before you read this book you have to be aware of. So we're going to follow a character named Luke, wherein actually from the beginning of the story, we are not having this very happy memory about him. We are going to see him at his lowest point in life, which just made me curious on how did he got there. Like, what are the events that traumatized him, or what are the things that made him depressed? So that is like the first part of this book that is going to talk about his whole journey when it comes to depression. Other people might think depression is something that, oh, she's depressed because she's just sad. She's depressed because something in her life doesn't go on her way. I mean, the word depression itself is very subjective. We could all differentiate that word into what we think it really means. But in this book, it just really gave me a thought on what is the whole concept of that word and how heavy it is. So that is the part 1. Actually, this book is divided into 3 parts. Part 1, Death. Part 2, Beautiful Things. And Part 3 would be the epilogue. So yes, I'm going to give you that point already, so you will know how will this book divide. When in terms of writing, I would give this author a praise, Mohammed Ghazi, because I am already a booktuber and I have read a lot of numerous books already, and all of them just follow the same sequence from life till death, something like that kind of sequence. They are divided into chapters, they are divided into how their adventure goes, but in this book it's really different, and it's so clever to think of how he made this book like a poem based and also a backstory based. It's a mixture of poetry and Luke's backstory. So that is like when I read this book, like the first part, I am so amazed on how the author wrote this book, because typically we wouldn't get that poem and novel mixed together, but this book made it happen. And not only I'm going to highlight all of his poetries that I really love and I really appreciate, I am going to point out also the point of view of depression. Yes, it's just so genius to think of writing a anonymous object or a anonymous feeling as like part of your main sequence to this book. Like, imagine if happiness is talking to you. Imagine if depression, anxiety is talking to you. I mean, he gave that character, he gave depression to life. So those are the things that I just really want to highlight to you guys about Death and Other Beautiful Things. And of course, after talking about death and all of his traumatizing events, we would now blossom into the beauty of life, which is part 2, the other beautiful things. In that way, we're going to be introduced to another character which he actually met in a hospital. Now this character would give light to Luke. It will all make things visible to him, most especially about happiness. So that's like the revolving point of part 2. I mean, during this part when I'm reading, which is part 2 by the way, it just gives me this appreciation and how life gives you a second chance to experience happiness. And that is the reason behind why I'm wearing the color green and why there are so many plants around me. It's because it gives you this lesson that life must go on, whether you're depressed, whether you're on your lowest point. In our life, we are not always on top of the mountain. We get through that top of the mountain and life must go on.
So yes, that's the meaning behind, that's the reason behind why I'm wearing green. It just makes you feel more brighter after everything.
Now let's move on to my remarks, my comments, okay? So my tiny comment about it is that from the first part,
like I told you how unique and clever it is how Muhammad Ghazi wrote this book.
But for somehow Luke's story events made me confused a bit. Like, it's so hard to connect the dots as I was reading it. Like, which one comes first? Did Luke had this traumatizing experience, traumatizing childhood? Then after, did Luke have this divorce that made him more depressed? Then after, what is the sequence? That's just one thing that I would just like to point out. It did make me confused for the first part, but as I kept going, it just made those blurred parts more visible. That's like the good thing about it. Even though I felt lost at some point, but thanks to a GPS and I kept on going, it led me to a correct direction. So that is my journey with reading Death and Other Beautiful Things. But that's just like one comment about this book. And the other things is I just did appreciate how he wrote it, how he delivered his message, and how he relates this concept into the time that we are facing today, which is the pandemic or the COVID-19, that I know most of us were isolated, and not only physically isolated but also mentally isolated. A lot of trying times during this day, and I am so happy to say that after all of it, there is a fruit to it. There is a flower that blossomed. So if you are challenged right now, and if you want to read something that would give you meaning of life, then definitely grab this book right now. Okay, so if you're interested in everything that I told you about this book, it is available in Jarir Bookstore and in Better Books Kuwait. So if you have the time and if you're really going to these two stores, please do not hesitate to get this copy. I mean, like, beware, of course, that there are trigger warnings about this. So if you're sure to read this and you're interested about it, then go ahead. And that is it for this video today. I would like to thank Kuwait, and most especially to my Kuwaiti viewers, wishing them a happy Liberation Day. I hope that you will spend this time with your family and celebrate this joyous event. That is it, you guys. Do not forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And of course, our saying goes, ready, get set, and start reading. Bye! Doo 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 doo.